Alright, welcome back everyone, Zaf here. Yes, I'm sure you're wondering, is ESIL worth it? So in this video, let me cover how good of a breaker she is, what teams are best for her, should you summon or should you not, and why, and what game modes and content in general is she going to be built for, very important, but also, what does the future have in store for her, because she's a hunter right now that's missing a specific unit, so I'll cover that, very important. You want to understand why ESIL is a good unit, but also why you should potentially hold off on summoning for her, so I'll cover that way you know exactly what to do, and you don't waste your rate-up tickets because they are very, very rare to get. Even though ESIL is a cutie, you should definitely wait to make sure you're not wasting those precious tickets. But really quick everyone, very important, if you haven't yet, make sure you support us. It is 100% free. The link is down below. You just link your account, that way you can support us. I have so many codes to send out. We are ranked number 1 for a reason, with the most number of supporters, because I make sure every single person out there gets a code. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 codes to send out for thousands of essence. We have Trace the Shadow, we have gold, so many goodies, and one more code coming for 1,000 essence as well. So lots of goodies you want to miss out on. That's why you should support, and also make sure you subscribe. This testing takes a long time to do, that's why so many people do subscribe to us. I make sure you get the content you want to see based on our most recent live stream, and you'll see very interesting here. We actually found a brand new glitch where we could have the same team multiple times, making our testing much easier, so I'll cover that. This was a 6-hour-long testing session, so make sure you drop a like for all the work I put in for you, though I do have to say I love doing it, so please, don't worry, it's my pleasure of course. So the first thing I do want to cover is, before we go into the data, I do want to cover just how good of a breaker ESIL is, of course. So we did a quick run. This is ESIL A5, this is ESIL 8.0, this is Go Gun-hee, this is Harper, and this is Emma. So out of all the hunters here, Go Gun-hee was the best breaker, breaking the target at 18 seconds, very strong. On Advancement 0, ESIL took 30 seconds on the same target, that being the Battlefield Trials Stage 60 when it came to the Scorpion. So no elemental bonuses were applied, very important to note. And at A5, her break was 25 seconds, so still, Go is a much better breaker. When it came to Emma, our next best firebreaker, she scored around the same time, so do note, they are very comparable. And Harper, of course, one of the best breakers as well. It took her 20 seconds to break the target, but with the cell analysis set equipped, this is raw, with no artifact sets on them. It took ESIL with the ultimate cast at first, 21 seconds, but when we saved her ultimate, and I'll show you what that means, when we saved her ultimate, and we didn't use it right away, so we used our skills and then used her ultimate, because at, I believe, the A3 mark, her ultimate comes up right away. Very important. That way you can ultimate ASAP, which does break the target, allowing your cooldowns to come up faster because during the animation, you're using your ultimate, so it does help out. So doing that trick netted us a 19-second clear when it came to the break on target, and we also test out Woo. He was a pretty good breaker, 19 seconds, same thing. Harper as well, 19 seconds. We had Emma, she took 22 seconds, and Go, of course, our best breaker, took 15 seconds, so I would say all our breakers are comparable, but ESIL is still a very slow breaker. She could be a bit faster, she's a bit clunky, and I'll show you why. She is able to spam her skills pretty quickly, but they're all weak break skills, so it does take a lot, and I mean a lot, to break the target, especially for the brand new workshop modes. But one thing I do want to cover, in the workshop, ESIL does get a buff when it comes to her break, and even with those buffs, it's a 24% break damage buff. It still took her with the same artifacts 34 seconds to break the target, where Go Gun-hee only took 20 seconds, meaning ESIL is a good breaker, but still, Go Gun-hee is the absolute chat when it comes to breaks. But with that covered, what about our advancements? Is there a point where you have to summon for her? Well, hold on. That's a very tough question, because the teams we have right now, there's just not much availability when it comes to ESIL excelling, and that's because when it comes to our fire teams, let me show you. Right now we have Yuso, here we have ESIL, we have Choi, we have Gina, we have Emma, and that's basically it. Those are fire units, and SRs too, but those don't count. So what are we using ESIL for? Now, I can't answer that question for you because we just struggled on the brand new workshop mode, the normal mode. Although it was easy to do for our light teams, our fire team actually came in clutch. No joke, I'll show you what that battle looks like, because Yuso Hyun just found a brand new spot in the meta. After how many months of having her sit there, doing nothing, she's actually a viable hunter, and that's all thanks to ESIL, where we can use her with Gina. That is the best combination. Emma just doesn't provide the buffs we need. Her break is fine, but ESIL does replace her now. And we have Choi. His defense reduction is good too, but we don't need him necessarily for our teams, I'll show you. But going over her advancement starting at A0, I wouldn't compare her damage to Yoo So-hyun just because they did have different loadouts, so please don't compare their damage. Just compare how much damage they gain per advancement. So A0, we had around 170 million for Yoo So-hyun, and for ESIL, we had around the let's say 20 million mark. But next up for A1, we got a nice boost, going from 170 million all the way to around the 190 to 200 million mark. Same with her as well. We got a nice damage increase. It wasn't too substantial, but still, for one advancement, it did provide us a tangible bonus for both our hunters, so very important. That's because A1, her advancement allowed her to build up the stacks much faster, so her damage output was more, her team's damage output was more, because of the prey effect. Again, this one right here, prey does provide us a very nice damage bonus, the fire damage taken on the target, and their overall damage taken bonus is quite substantial as you stack it up, so that's why A1 already provided us a tangible bonus, very interesting. A2 as well does give us a general bonus, but we won't really notice it, straight away. It does depend on the game mode, but still, it is a 12% bonus, but A2 is not something you aim for. And the same thing goes for A3, although it's a good effect, you get your ultimate right away, it doesn't really reflect on her damage or your team's damage, that being on the guild boss, so the guild boss test isn't really a good indication, as you can see right here. If we look at the test results for A2, you can see our damage didn't really move. It did go up just a little bit, so let's say 190 million average, and around 150 million for ESIL. If you go on here, you can see their damage was fairly comparable still, but Yoo So-hyun did get a bump, just by a tiny bit, if you got some good RNG. And so overall, A2, A1, not much of a difference when it comes to raw damage, but A3, for actual game modes, will net you a better bonus, because you can break the targets faster. Because of the 10% break gauge, you can break them right away, which is huge. But the A4 bonus is very funny. Let me show you why. When it came to our testing, this is a very good effect, giving us defense penetration, which does help out Yoo So-hyun's damage, but overall, your damage too. But let me show you what happened here. So if we go back to the sheet, you can see this is A3. Once we got to A4, our damage kind of skyrocketed. That's just because we have so many hunters on our team. So the damage effect was amplified, but still, you will notice a tangible bonus, that being from A4 bonus, especially for the workshop. She will benefit so well from the workshop because we need so much defense pen. I'll show you. Defense pen is a must for this game mode, trust me. The new workshop is going to be tough for a lot of you, where getting defense pen is actually one of the best stats possible. So I'll cover that, but going down here, we have her to A5 now, and she got a huge damage bonus by herself, getting those stacks up much faster. You can see we have 240 million on average, but here we got a big damage boost. That's because her A5 bonus overall does help her out a ton, and that's because of this skill right here. We have Lance Throw, a passive. ESIL throws a spear that pierces through magically created armor. She deals 800% of her attack, and this deals weak break damage as well, which does activate the prey effect. So if we go to her A5, her basically best advancement, we get the bonus prey being applied, we get more break coming in, and now Lance Throw gets one more additional activation. So that boosts her damage out by a ton and also giving her more break and more passive stacks, which does go up to 100 at the A5 mark. So that's why overall, I would say A5 and A4 are very good advancements, so don't get me wrong, A3 is very good for a break, giving her more capabilities with her ultimate, very important, and also allowing her to break fast with his passive here. So overall, I would say A3 should be the cutoff. A1 and A2 are fine, A2 not needed. If you want to stop for some reason advancement, A1 is okay. It does let us get the prey effect off more often, which is good. But still, for a unit like ESIL, she is going to be our best in slot for a buffer, a breaker, and a mid-tier damage dealer. Not so much so, mostly a buffer and a breaker, and a huge buffer. I mean, come on, look at this. 100 stacks, 30%, yeah, that is juicy. So for ESIL to really capture her best abilities, she does have to be at the A4, A5 mark, or at least minimum A3, A2, A1, A0. It'll do you wonders in a sense of giving you more damage than you would get using CHOI, for example, but she's still going to be very good past the A3 mark. You do want to get her at least for defense fan because the brand new workshop mode, let me tell you, this thing got a juicy buff. It's fun to do, let me tell you. Normal mode, requiring 1 million power, yeah, that's honestly a surprise. In this mode here, the boss does get a huge defense increase, meaning you need a lot of defense spend. And who does provide defense spend? 2 hunters right now. We have Yoo So-hyun and now we have ESIL, so they're both usable for this mode. actually potentially being the best hunters we can use. So let me show you that. Very important you understand what's going on. But one thing I do want to note here, when it comes to ESIL, if you want my general recommendation, I wouldn't say skip, I wouldn't say summon, I would say if you're not a whale, if you're not a dolphin, if you're not a light spender, if you're free to play, just hold off. Don't skip her, just wait, because for ESIL, she does have 41 days on her banner. You have plenty of time to summon for her. Her banner lasts forever. That means when our brand new fire DPS comes out, that being Kane, we do have more time to basically understand, should we get her? Is she needed? Will she buff Kane to levels we want to see her at? Or are we going to skip her? So patience on this one will honestly lend a huge hand in your progression, but if you're having troubles with the workshop, maybe ESIL is the right move if you have ESIL Hyun. So overall, if you're wondering, I would say ESIL is fine to summon for A0, just get the events in. As you know, with the events, you do get a ton of rewards, especially getting her weapon, because ESIL, let me tell you right now, will be the best in-slot breaker like we saw with Gogan-hee, providing buffs, providing breaks, and her damage is fine, okay? It's not great, it's fine, it's not the best we've seen, it's very, I would say it's mid and under tier, but her breaks and buffs will not be found anywhere else, so you want to get these weapons here for later when you do plan on summoning for more. Very important, because you can see we're getting more game modes where she is going to be required, because look at this, in the simulation gate, we are now moving past the light weakness. We have fire and we have dark now. So what are you going to use? Do you have a dark team, or are you going to start building a fire team? Very important. That way you can get the rewards here, otherwise you're going to be absolutely cooked for any future game modes, where the devs are going to require more variation for hunters. Based on what they've said, for 2025, they do want to make a harder gameplay experience for all of us, so that means new the weakness is coming in, where we can't just spam our light hunters like Gogan-hee, like Thomas Andre, to really carry us through every single game mode that is out there. And let me just go ahead and show you some more data. So very interesting, when it comes to her weapon, it's actually quite good. So this right here, this is A5 ESIL using her weapon on herself, so she had the most crit. Let me show you her weapon, just so you understand what it does. At the A5 mark, her weapon is honestly a must. It provides us a 2,400 attack increase to the target on a team with the highest crit rate. So a very easy passive to manipulate, giving us a fantastic, and I'm assuming a scalable bonus. 2,400 attack is nothing to laugh over. It's a huge amount, so it's easy to get. The passive applies easily, so this bonus here is a must. That's why ESIL will be one of our best in slots providing buffs and attack bonuses that do potentially scale. But let's go back to the shield I was showing you. As you can see right here, this is ESIL using her weapon on herself, and this is ESIL using her weapon on ESIL Hyun. So around a 10% damage gain. Not too bad at all, just from the weapon, meaning her weapon and her presence on a team will be very beneficial. But here we have two examples of ESIL Hyun and ESIL working together. The first one here both being that they're running DPS, so we have DPS ESIL here, DPS ESIL Hyun. On ESIL here, we have the expert set and also the curse set, but in this case here, in the second run, we have greed on ESIL and the weapon on ESIL Hyun, of course. The weapon was on ESIL Hyun in both cases, but you can see from the greed set, we're getting around a 40 million damage bonus, but when it comes to ESIL, we lost 90 million damage, so a damage deficit overall. But do note, this is on the Guild Boss battle. This is not on a regular game mode where we are going to require more damage on one hunter rather than spread out on multiple hunters, because who are you going to tag in? Our main damage dealer or our breaker and buffer? No, you're going to put your damage dealer to deal the most damage. That's why you want to apply as many buffs as possible, because in regular game modes that aren't the Guild Boss, you cannot run multiple hunters at once. This is only a good scenario where you do have multiple hunters on the field, but when it comes to most cases, this right here is your ideal scenario where you're getting the most benefit on your team. So with that covered, one thing I do want to show you is ESIL versus CHOI. Just two quick examples. Surprisingly, CHOI and ESIL are pretty close in terms of damage. I was kind of shocked, so it kind of proves the point that ESIL, even with the expert set, does deal pretty much the same amount of damage as CHOI. Just a quick test here, nothing too crazy, nothing groundbreaking. Until ESIL does build up those expert stacks, she's going to be falling behind in damage. Obviously, the Obsidian set is very good, but my CHOI was not built good here, so ESIL overall, as a damage unit, no. It's just not going to work, I'm sorry. She's not built for that. She is a buffer, but do note, this was for A5. She is losing out on 15% potential damage from the attack route, so probably add in like, let's say, 100, 200 million here. But overall, still not a damage dealer. We have much better options. Well, actually, we only have one option, that being Yuso Hyun, and in the future, Kane coming out, which will potentially be our main damage DPS source. But with that said, let me show you her in action. Now we can see what she's like. So this is from our stream. As she jumps in, her break is fine. She's not the best breaker out there, let me tell you. She has weak break on all her skills, including her ultimate as well. So she's doing what she can. It takes her a long time to break. Gogen, he just does such a better job. Much easier to use with the shield. But as you can see here, we're using our ultimate when we can, when our skills are on cooldown, because we do get break, and it's pretty good mob clear overall. So we're just trying to break as fast as possible. Takes a very long time, trust me. But once we do break, we want to build up those passive sacks, very important. That's her main damage buffing source. Otherwise, you're not using her to the full potential as you would be required to do so. So I do want to pause and note here, when you break the target, make sure to keep ESIL in there to build up those sacks. Don't do what I did here. We're just testing out Yuso Hyun's damage, because watch this. In the workshop right now, ESIL might be a hunter. We have to summon it for, because watch. Yuso Hyun's damage, 98%. Boom. She's going to start melting the target, 80%. Now all the way down to 70%. Watch this. With her core attacks coming in, her E, all the way down on the brand new mode. Yeah, Yuso Hyun is now a potentially viable hunter, go figure. Let me skip through her battle right here, because there's the invincibility phases here. 67%, use the E, use a core attack, boom. Look at this damage. Again, no stacks from ESIL right now. Yuso Hyun is just that good, so imagine ESIL's bonuses being applied, making Yuso Hyun even better. Yeah, that's why right now, Yuso Hyun, ESIL, and Gina might be the viable route to take when it comes to the brand new workshop mode. Because as you can see right here, when it comes to Gogen, he and the light team, he does break pretty fast, much faster than ESIL, trust me, even with the 24% bonus. In the workshop for break, you can see Goes is breaking so fast. He's just ripping through the target, literally, no competition at all. Gogen, he is a monster breaker, totally monstrous, insane. So the target will break here, but when we start putting in Akari, and we put Thomas Andre, let me just skip over to Thomas Andre being put in, our damage isn't as high, surprisingly, as it was with Yuso Hyun. So watch this. Thomas Andre comes in. He starts, tickling the enemies overall, but not the amount of damage we're used to seeing on Thomas Andre. That's because this target has so much defense that we need insane amounts of defense span, which Yuso Hyun can basically only provide. So although Thomas Andre is very good, very capable, has better artifacts than Yuso Hyun, he's still going to be outperformed, surprisingly. You do need a lot of defense span on him to make him good for this mode. Overall, it is a shock that potentially for the hard mode coming out, we might be leaning towards a fire team. So if you're someone who does want to get those skins as rewards, if you're in the late game phase, ESIL will probably be a must summon hunter that you'll need. But right now, if you're free to play, if you're light spend, if you're dolphin, hold off. There's no rush. You don't have to rush to summon for them. You can wait for the new content to come out, for the new hunter to come out, for the hard mode to come out. That way you know for a fact whether or not you'll need her. So that's all I wanted to cover with you today. ESIL is not a skippable unit, but she is not a must summon right now as of today. She's a hold. That's my recommendation for ESIL. I recommend you hold off, wait, because her banner is very long. That way we know for a fact whether or not she's going to be viable for future game modes, or if we can basically live off with using Emma, Yuso Hyun, Choi, we have Gina, all in one team without ESIL. But with Kane coming out, I don't think that's going to be a possibility. I think our fire team, once it does get that damage in, will be the team to basically carry us through most of the game modes, just like we saw for our light teams, because honestly speaking, they're not going to put Kane into the game being weak, being nerfed, being lower damage to Thomas Andre, for example. So we'll see. Just want to cover all those topics with you. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like. Make sure to subscribe. That way, I do know you want more content like this. On that note, this is your Code King Zaf, signing out.